Welcome you all to core session number 2. Last week, we talked about core technologies that are relevant to your experience as a new Husky. This week, we're going to talk about different tips and traps at the UW. When it comes to navigating your overall Husky experience, there are many common pitfalls and common misunderstandings, or even some things that can be quite intimidating to experience as a new student. And today, we hope to alleviate some of that concern and introduce more clarity to the overall UW system. Overall today, we're going to go over 4 common things the students might run into issues with during their time at the University of Washington. Our first is Canvas, the overall platform for professors to communicate course details with students. The second is reading course syllabi, or the overall syllabus for specific classes. Then we'll talk about plagiarism and then registration holds. Okay, to start us off, Canvas is UW's preferred course management system. Overall, all things lecture notes, all things lecture recordings, all assignments, generally speaking, will go through a platform we call Canvas. You can log into Canvas through your UW Net ID, and you should usually be added to all of your Canvas courses roughly a week before courses start, but definitely by the time the course begins. Canvas operates and by having several different sections that appear on the left-hand side of the overall Canvas page. First, you have announcements. And so this is where you can see all the different announcements your professor will have over the course of the course. Say they want to remind you about an upcoming final or an upcoming midterm. They generally will send an announcement through this part of Canvas and let you know, hey, these are some of the details about this upcoming assignment or test that you should be aware of. Another common tab, and so this will be a little bit different based on the course that you're registered for, but generally speaking, these are common tabs that professors have for across all courses. The next one that we commonly see is the course syllabus. Each professor will include a general guideline for the expectations they have for all students currently taking that course. Then, of course, is the assignments tab. This is where professors will post all of the different assignments. So let's take a quick look at this, how to submit assignments on Canvas.
Assignments in Canvas. First and foremost, give yourself at least 5 minutes to submit and to verify that the assignment has been accepted in Canvas. To submit an assignment, first go to the Assignments area in Canvas. Click the assignment you want to submit. This example assumes that you're uploading a file to Canvas, but there are other submission types that your instructor can choose to permit, such as text entries, website URLs, or media. When you're ready to submit your assignment, click the Submit Assignment button near the top of the screen, and then click Choose File to navigate to that file on your computer and select it. If your instructor is using VeriCite Originality Checker, make sure that you mark the checkbox to signify that the work is your own. When you're ready, click the Submit Assignment button. Give Canvas a minute or two, and then look in the upper right corner for a confirmation message that your assignment was submitted correctly. You are not done until you see that confirmation message.
That for you is a general overview of how assignment submission works. Generally, once you navigate to the assignment page, there will be a button for you to upload any file that you did your assignment in, and that will be submitted into the Canvas submission page. For certain classes, there will also be discussion posts, potentially, that your professor activates for all students. This will look like the professor will give you a sample prompt, and then every student can both respond to that prompt and also respond to other students who are responding to that prompt. And so those are a sample discussion board page that a professor could potentially activate. And then Canvas is generally how professors will also allow you to view your grades. Whenever a professor grades an assignment, that grade will automatically update on Canvas. And so you can look at your overall track record for how you're doing in that course through Canvas directly. And of course, if there are any discrepancies with your grade, say you think you should have gotten a higher score than you actually got on Canvas, it's possible that the professor entered it wrong. So it's good to double check your grade page on a constant basis to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. And then if a professor also has different files, say for they have lecture slides or they have different note pages that they upload to Canvas, you'll also find them in the Files tab, and you can access all the slides and materials there. If at any point you run into significant difficulties with Canvas, say part of the page is broken or there are other issues involved, you can always Google YouTube IT Canvas Help for Students. And once you Google this, you can UW IT can support you from there. Moving on to part 2, let's talk about a course syllabus. So you can think of a course syllabus as a contract between the students and the professors. It's something that both parties agree to at the very beginning of a course. The professor outlines everything that they expect from the student, from their grading rubric to how students should conduct themselves in the course, to how they will be grading certain assignments, to how the course logistics will be run, so on and so forth. And the student agrees to that upon registering for the course. It is also something the professor agrees to, in the sense that if the professor strays from what they stated in the course syllabus, say they act in accordance or they grade in a way that's different from how they listed in the course syllabus, it is something the student can also refer back to and have that conversation with a professor potentially. Common aspects that are included in course syllabus include the course logistics, where the class is, how to contact the professor, which is very important if you have questions or concerns related to the course. It'll generally also contain office hours, so that's where you can meet with both the professor and any potential TAs that are helping the professor run that course. In addition, it is also generally where you can find the required textbooks and any additional software that you need for that course. In each course syllabus, generally, a professor will also outline how the assignment structure will work. That'll include things like frequency or how much time is recommended to spend on a certain assignment. It is also how they'll reveal their grading rubric, say how they will allot certain percentages. For instance, say if a course is out of 100%, maybe they'll allot 20% to assignments and 30% to each test or something like that. However they break it down, they will reveal that grading rubric within their course syllabus. In addition, there will also be a calendar for how the overall course will be run. Say that'll include the assignment deadlines, the test deadlines, which lectures, which topics will generally be covered. All of that rundown is generally included within the course syllabus. In the course syllabus, generally, there will also be a policy for late work. What happens, this obviously varies from professor to professor. Some professors will not accept late work at all, but other professors might give you, say, half credit if you submit your assignment late. Or some professors will give you a certain number of days you can be late by before they will not take any submissions for that particular assignment. And so all of these specific details are included in your course syllabus. And say you're registering for 3 to 4 courses per quarter, each course will have its own unique course syllabus. So be sure when you register for a course to review the exact specific details that are associated with that course. In addition, there will be an academic integrity policy in each course syllabus. And so that will look like what the professor counts as cheating. Because we'll talk a little bit more about this later as well, but cheating looks a little different based on what subject you're in, the exact preference of that professor, so on and so forth. And each professor will outline what specific policy they're following when it comes to cheating and plagiarism. Sometimes the professor will also include helpful resources for that course. Say there are certain academic help centers the professor believes would be especially relevant and useful for their course. They will include such resources in their course syllabus. Okay, let's take a quick look at some example course syllabi. And so generally, when you register for a course, if you just Google, say UW, your course name, and then syllabus on Google, generally speaking, you'll likely find a course syllabus from that course from a past version, say a past quarter of that course. And sometimes the syllabus changes, so you want to make sure you look at the most updated version when you are added to the Canvas page. But generally speaking, they'll be relatively consistent. And so you can kind of get a good idea of what the course will look like even before you register. Let's look at one example together. This is what the overall rundown for a Math 124, so this is introductory calculus for the UW, what that class will look like. And so, for example, here it includes the textbook that this class will be using. It includes their grading policy, their general range under which grades will fall. It includes a link to different worksheets. It also, if you have disability accommodations, it also includes a list or a link for you to be able to access those resources. It tells you when the final is, and here is what we were talking about earlier, about the overall course calendar. This gives you a rundown for all the general topics the course will cover over the duration of the quarter. So for instance, this right here shows you the topics that will be covered on a weekly basis. In addition, you will be able to see the links to different worksheets here. You'll be able to see the test timing as well as the final timing at the very end. So this is an example for math. Let's take a look at another example. Let's say we look at Econ 200. And so this is one of the introductory economics courses, Introduction to Microeconomics. Here you see listed overall the course logistics, who will be teaching the course, the timing of the course, the location of the course, so on and so forth. This was during COVID time, and so there's a COVID notice here. These are the overall objectives that the course go over. So this is, if you're trying to think through whether or not you want to take this course or what kind of things you might be learning, then this gives you a general overview of what you'll be taking away from this course. Here again is the textbook, and then here is the grading breakdown. And so this professor allots 60% to exams, 12% to homework, 21% to writing, and then 7% through some sort of course participation. So if these percentages seem arbitrary, it is because they generally are. Each professor can decide on their own what percent they want to allot to each category of grading within their class. And so that is why it is doubly important whenever you register for a course to look at the specific grading breakdown for that professor for that course. Here you have different important dates, and then here you have information about office hours, and so how you can reach out to your TA or your professor if you need help. And then this is the academic integrity policy. And so this professor uses a plagiarism checker through Canvas, the platform we were talking about earlier. And so different professors will do different things, but here, this one uses Canvas to check for any potential plagiarism. And this is the makeup policy. So in the event that you miss a homework or you miss a class, this professor seems to give has a somewhat lenient policy compared to others. Out of, say, maybe 10 homework assignments, this professor will drop your two lowest, which is quite a generous policy. But of course, this again will vary from professor to professor, and you want to understand the specific details for each course by reading the course syllabus as soon as you're able to. Overall, if you ask say you have a question about the course, right? And you ask your professor a question whose answer to which you ask the professor a question for which the answer can be readily found on the course syllabus, you might not make the best impression on the professor because the professor expects you to put in the level of work to read the course syllabus first. And so a great question to ask a professor would be, hey, I read the syllabus, but I still don't understand some part of it, or I still have some lingering questions about the syllabus. Professors love to hear those kinds of questions because not only are you putting in the work to find information for yourself, you are also asking deeper questions because you are curious and you would like to know a specific part of the course syllabus. Next, let's talk about plagiarism. Plagiarism can carry different names. It can be called academic dishonesty. It can also be called misconduct. And so it can be a little bit scary to think about and a little bit scary to hear, but hopefully by the end of this course session, we can dispel some of those myths. And so plagiarism overall happens if students are flagged for copying other people's work, including their own, or taking work from sources and not citing them. And so these are some common ways it can happen. If you don't cite your sources, you might be flagged for plagiarism. If you copy answers from the internet, or you pull your or you pull your answers from AI tools. Basically, anytime you present work that is not your own honest work, that can be flagged as plagiarism or academic dishonesty. In addition, if you share and this is something to be super careful about, if you share your work with other people or you post it on social media in hopes of benefiting your classmates, but then they use your work, both you who posted your work and the classmate that uses your work can be flagged for academic dishonesty because many professors will have policies regarding detailing specific guidelines about not allowing you to post your work online for everyone to see. And then also, sometimes you can be flagged for plagiarism because it's a mistake in the system. Your work, by coincidence, you did not collude with another student or you did not communicate with another student, but it so happens that your work bears a strong resemblance to that other student's. You might also be flagged for plagiarism. So there are a couple of different tools for plagiarism detection at the University of Washington. And so specifically, if you're taking a writing course, after you submit your assignment, there's a way to see the plagiarism checker and see how your work compares to that of other students and how your work compares to potential other similar assignments pulled off the internet. And so this is generally in particular for writing courses, but certain professors say this is an English 101 class, can activate the plagiarism checker. So after you submit your assignment, you're able to see this box right here. If you go into the submission details of your assignment, you're able to see how your assignment stacks up compared to that of your peers. In this case, we have an assignment that registers as a red 100% similarity to someone else's work. And that is a huge red flag. And potentially there could be serious consequences for that. And so, but it could also be an accident. Sometimes these are not 100% accurate. But overall, this is something that if the professor chooses to activate for their class, can be helpful for you to kind of gauge whether or not you would like to resubmit your work or have that conversation with the professor to analyze what is actually happening in this case. And this link provides you a general guideline of what certain colors on the plagiarism checker can mean through Canvas. Keep in mind that not all professors will activate it, but for those who do, it is helpful to know what the different colors mean. This is an overall color to percent matching scale that's provided on this website. And all these links are available through this presentation. I want to take a brief moment and talk about computer science courses in particular. As you see this quote, historically, CSE courses account for a large percentage of all academic dishonesty cases at the UW each year. And so the computer science courses in particular, if you're interested in taking any CS courses at the UW, will generally have their own academic misconduct policy that details in what circumstances you can or cannot collaborate with other students. It details when and when not, when you can or cannot share your code, and different specific details related to CSE academic misconduct. In the event you are flagged for plagiarism, what do we do now? Well, it can depend on your professor. So some professors will work with the student one-on-one in a very informal setting, in the sense that they'll sit you down, have a conversation about, say, your plagiarism checker score came back and you flagged as very high similarity to another student. And then the professor will have that one-on-one conversation with you about why that might be. And then it's important to go through that conversation with a clear and level head. They're not out to get you. Overall, professors are here to help. And if there's a miscommunication, a misunderstanding, or you genuinely need help with that assignment, then the professor can have that conversation with you. Sometimes, however, there can be more serious policies in play. For CSE courses, for example, they have department-specific procedures about how to address situations of academic dishonesty. And in that matter, the professor has relatively little say. You'll be referred to the department-specific policies. And so here it's doubly important to understand what those exactly are so you don't get in trouble. And then If it escalates to even further level, the UW has a Student Conduct Office, abbreviated CSSC. And if you are flagged for academic misconduct and your case is escalated to their level, this is a sample email of what you might receive from them. In this case, this student has been flagged for academic dishonesty. And then you get this email that tells you what next steps you must take to clear your record or what new conversations you must have to proceed from here. Overall, if you are flagged for plagiarism, before you even get there, there's some ways we can prevent that from happening. And so one, of course, is to read your syllabus. And so if you are clear about the academic misconduct policy in your syllabus, there's a much lower likelihood that you will be flagged for plagiarism. In the event that you are flagged for plagiarism, do calmly and professionally communicate with your professor, with the conduct office to complete any appeal process. It can be a stressful time, and so reach out to your support system in the meantime. Keep in mind that any cases of plagiarism will not remain on your official transcript, only the final grade will be on your transcript. Overall, if you are flagged for plagiarism and you are caught for plagiarism, be honest with it, admit to it, and keep an overall growth mindset. What can we take away from this situation, and how can we improve for the future? Finally, I would like to talk about registration holds. Getting a registration hold can be one of the most scary things for students because registration hold means that you will no longer be able to register for courses in the upcoming quarter. And as our purpose as students is to register for courses and move forward with our degree, this can be very intimidating to deal with. And there can be a lot of different reasons students can receive registration holds, and they can happen as early as the first winter quarter at the University of Washington. And so, for sure, if you receive a registration hold, you want to get it resolved before the winter quarter registration date, say, which for freshmen this coming year will be November 14 and 15 of this year for next winter quarter. And so definitely, this is something to look out for. And if you do receive a registration hold, we want to be very speedy and careful about dealing with it. This is an overall list of what registration holds you can get as a new student. For instance, if we look at the first line, the first one is a measles hold, I believe. It is an immunization hold. What that means is if you are lacking proof of immunization, the immunization office can put a registration hold on your record to get your attention to respond to the immunization office. As an example, generally speaking, registration holds are not something the university is trying to use to punish you. Generally speaking, registration holds are a way of getting the student's attention. Because the university can have a hard time communicating directly with the student if they put a registration hold, at least the logic from the university side is if they put a registration hold on the student's record, the student will have to reach out to the university to resolve that problem, to respond to whatever the university wants you to respond to. In that same vein of thinking, therefore, if you respond to whatever and you complete whatever task the university wants you to complete, then you can go about lifting your registration hold. Some other examples, including a registration hold from the Title IX office. Say you missed a training and you did not complete your student Title IX training, then the Title IX office can put a registration hold on your record. If you don't do your ISS post-arrival check-in, ISS can put a registration hold on your record. And there's so many more possibilities. One other common one students can run into is if you get to 105 credits without a major, the university can put a satisfactory academic hold upon your record. But this does not mean that you're in deep, deep trouble. It's a way for the university to encourage you to reach out to an academic advisor. If you reach that credit threshold and you're not yet in a major, the university wants to help you to make sure that you are on track to being in a major. The university wants to encourage you to meet with an academic advisor to plan for the future. If you receive a registration hold, this is how you will be notified. If you go to your My UW page you can see on the home page what holds you might have. For instance, in this screenshot, this student has received a measles, mumps, and meningitis vaccine requirement hold, meaning that the immunization office lacks certain information to process this student fully, to make sure this student is fully immunized against these diseases. And so the immunization office has placed a registration hold on this student's record to make sure that this student reaches out to the immunization office and gets this immediately taken care of for the general overall public health of the university campus. Overall, again, I really want to reiterate this point. Registration holds are not a means for the university to punish you. Rather, if there's a specific task the university wants you to attend to, if there's a specific thing the university wants to get your attention for, then you might get a registration hold. And to lift that hold, you just simply have to respond to that task that the university wants you to take care of. Again, with registration holds and with general things, communication is key. The moment you get a registration hold, the earlier you communicate in a common professional manner to take care of whatever issue the university wants you to take care of, the better it will be for the future.